How's it going, everyone? It's Marshall. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Wanted to give you an update on my live rig and some of the stuff I'm working on. So I'm going to do a quick overview of kind of what I've got going on. Now, currently, I'm actually controlling all of this equipment from my primary studio, doing it remotely, if that makes sense. It's a little bit easier for me to work sitting down with good studio monitors. The live rig over there is a little bit difficult to work standing for long periods of time, so I found a solution to do things remotely. I can go in depth into some of that in a later video, but basically I'm using an application called USB over Network, and I'm sending my Novation 61SL Mark II to the Miko in the other room, and also my Ableton Push sit that's sitting right in front of me is also being sent out to the Miko. So it acts as basically virtual USB ports over the network, so that the Miko can see these devices, and I can interact with the Miko using these devices from my primary studio with good monitors, all that good stuff. All right, so what do we have going on? So I'm using the BlueARP DM. This is a hardware arpeggiator, basically, and it allows 8 instances of the BlueARP plugin. The plugin is how BlueARP kind of started, and it's been developed into a piece of hardware. I was beta testing this, so I actually have one of these, and I plan to make excellent use of it. So basically 8 instances of BlueARP here. Everything is hardwired into the unit in the other room, and you can see the synths I have here, so like V-Synth, the JP-8000, the Korg Radias, the Quantum, the Nordwave, the TD-3. It's actually not the TD-3 at the moment. I swapped that out for the TB-3. And primarily the reason I did that at the moment here is because I want to have the ability to automate the filter cutoff and the resonance and those things. I'm not able to do that with the Behringer TD-3. So I've had to elect to put the TB-3 in there, which I could just probably rename this while I'm in here. And I found that I kind of like the TB-3 better than the TB-03 a little bit, at least for this application. So anyway, that's in there. And then the JD-08, the boutique of the JD-800. And then I've got this 8th instance being routed to the PC to control a plugin. But this can also be routed out to, I've got a D-05 in there at the moment, but some of this stuff is kind of still in flux, if that makes sense. I'm still trying to decide on what synths I want to use with this setup, and so this has been kind of an arduous process, taking quite a while to kind of get settled in on a few things. So anyway, that's kind of the general overview. So you can see here, this is the arpeggiator section with the different patterns that I've made, or if I'm doing just a dummy through, basically quantize through, or actually I think quantize is off. So, and that's good actually. Get a little more live action that way. Anyway, so these are the different patterns I'm using for all 8 instruments. And when we go into Ableton, these are starting here. The instruments plugged into a Behringer XR18. So you can see V-Synth, JP-8000, Korg Radias Quantum, Nordwave, TD-3. I should probably rename that while we're in here. TB-3. JD-08. Now this FM bass, that's the soft synth that I'm using for bass. And this is a plugin called Op7. And this is kind of like a DX7, and it sounds really good, and obviously this interface is like miles better than an actual DX7 to program on. Yeah, so the way this works, basically, it gets a little complex. I'll do my best to try and kind of sum this up. But here, this section here, that's my remote control, basically. I'm able to route the Novation 61SL Mark II using the USB over network into this here, and that's what's allowing me to control everything from here. In the actual performances, this will be off, and I'll be using the actual SL61 or the 61SL Mark III that's in there. These are for control of BlueARP's meta chains and programs and stuff. And I'll get into that in a later video eventually. But yeah, then we come into here, and basically I'm using Ableton as an audio mixer. I'm not actually doing any sequencing for the actual instruments. Now I get to the percussion, like the kick and the percussion. That's all sequenced in Ableton, and you can see here I've got a little bit of track delay to kind of line everything up. Anyways, so when you come in here, so we'll pick on the V-Synth here, and I'll shrink this down. So what I've done is I've got a control section for BlueARP, and what this allows me to do is do things like enable or disable an instance, almost like a mute, but it's not really a mute. It just it disables the arpeggiator for that instance. So blue means it's active, red means it's off, if that makes sense. And then obviously I've got left and right for the different instrument. Now this kind of translates through all of these different instruments, except when you get into something like the JP-8000, or I'm doing some filter cutoff control. Again, this is routed back through BlueARP over USB. You see USB down here. Back into the BlueARP, and then there's some MIDI CC translation that's gone on. And it allows me to control things like filter cutoff. This is also what's allowing me to do things like program changes and different aspects of the different synths I'm able to control from Ableton back into BlueARP. And so the plan here is to take and kind of do my normal production workflow in Ableton, where I have I create scenes, and the scenes are certain loops basically that I'm able to progress through. And I've got a Morningstar pedal that'll allow me to remotely control this with my foot during a live production. But for right now, I actually have my push here, and I can do everything from here. So this is a really cool setup, I think. And like I said, I plan to do kind of a more in-depth look at this. If you folks are interested, do me a favor, leave me a like, comment below. I'd be interested to know about your live setups as well. I see a lot of DAW-less stuff, but this is technically not DAW-less, although the DAW is not doing a whole lot. It is, however, like I said, controlling percussion. But that is something that I could offload. I did get a Korg SQ64, I think is what it was, the Korg sequencer for Black Friday. So maybe that's something that I could work in if I decide I don't want to do some of this stuff from Ableton. But I think I kind of gonna have to leave it that way, honestly, because the progression for the percussion and stuff is a lot easier to trigger using scenes in Ableton with my foot. So it's probably gonna stay like this, is my guess. But then when we drill down into here, we've got all like the crashes and hi-hats and all that good stuff, snare rolls, all the good stuff. So what I'll do real quick is I'm just going to kind of go through. I'll play part of the track here, and I'm going to do a live little ditty here, some of the stuff, kind of melodies I'm working on. But the ultimate goal here is to be able to switch patches in real time on these different instruments. And also, say for example, in the V-Synth here, let's say I switch to a different patch. I'm going to also automate in the scene change all the different settings in here. So like the EQs and stuff will change to accommodate whatever sounds are in there in terms of the production. So this is part of the reason why this is taking such a long time, folks. It's literally creating new tracks from scratch, at the same time having to work out the production and mixing and all that stuff, because I want this to sound like super pro right out of the box. And the cool thing is, if I get good at this and I can go out and play like live, that's kind of the idea. I want this to sound like it's a record, but it's all done live, if that makes sense. So with these tools, it's possible. It's a pain, but it is possible. Anyway, so let's kind of go through this now. The V-Synth I'm actually not using currently. I'm still working out some sound design for that guy, so we're going to leave that muted. But I'm going to fire this off and let you guys kind of hear what we got going on. Actually, should I? Yeah, we'll just fire off the sequence, and I'll mute these and I'll go through them. So currently, you're just hearing percussion, and that's because with the way BlueARP works, you have to control it from a keyboard. Well, you don't have to. I guess you could hook up a sequencer or something. But I have to trigger a key, and I have a split that's actually right here on this E. Everything below that E is kind of my rhythms and stuff, and low notes, basses, and stuff. And you'll hear what I'm talking about once I engage that. But up further is, up in this area is the leads and stuff. All right, so it's like a really advanced split, basically, that's going on here. So again, I have to strike a key as I start the track. So let's do that. All right, so it sounded pretty good. Now let's kind of go through and solo some of this stuff. So this is the Korg Radias. All right. Then we got the Quantum doing kind of a drone sound. Now the Nord Wave, I think I have to kind of kill some of this here so you can hear it. If I just solo it, it's not gonna do its deal there. So that's coming from the Nord Wave. All right, and the TB3. And the cool thing about the TB3 is if I strike the key kind of lightly with not as much force here, you get a little quieter effect out of that. If I hit it harder, it brings it up louder, which is kind of cool. So you get a little bit of expression just by the amount of pressure you strike the key with. Okay, so then the JD-08. You're not going to hear that because that's a lead. But let's listen to it if I play something. All right. Then the FM bass. Pretty standard. Then the... Oh, Omnisphere. Okay. Omnisphere is not actually being controlled by BlueARP. But it's a nice little transition effect that I've added. And some of that's one of the nice things about doing this is I can add some of those kind of little extra bits in after I kind of get things dialed in. This is an example of that. And then, of course, all the percussion and stuff over here. All right, so, we forgot the JP-8000, didn't we? We sure did. The V-Synth is, I'm not going to be using it at the moment here because I'm still working on some sound design. So I'm going to leave that one muted. But here's the JP-8000. And you can hear that filter cutoff engaging. And that is being controlled from Ableton, but back into BlueARP. So, and the idea here is to combine that with the JD-08. So if we unsolo that one, and they play together. Right? So that's pretty dope. All right. That's pretty much it, guys. I just want to give y'all an update on what I have going on here. So I'm going to play like a little bit of, a couple little melodies here that I'm working with. But the idea here is over time I'm going to build this up to where there's multiple tracks, basically completed songs. And they will transition using the scenes, and I have a Morningstar pedal that I will be able to kind of switch the scenes with my foot here in the live studio. All right, so you guys have a good one. I'm going to start up and do a little kind of demo here with this. So enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.